Matters podcast. I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Tori.
And today we'll be talking about goals and comparing yourselves to others. It's recently come to light that Molly May, who's the company director of Pretty Little Thing and has been since 2021, and she was on the Love Island, I think, as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I don't know, I don't watch it.
No.
I just googled it. Yeah, it's come to light that she's came out saying Beyonce has the same 24 hours in the day that we all do. And it's up to you what you do. It's down to you what you do with it. And we thought, given that it's the new year and we were talking about goals anyway, we'd bring this up. What do you feel about what she said?
I just can't believe, especially someone like herself, we just pretty much have everything handed to on the plate, saying stuff like that. We don't, everyone's different. Everyone's in a different part of their life and everything, so some people might be, way ahead, where they want to be, and some people are just on their way to get where they're at.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's, for me, the reason it's annoyed me so much is the fact that she makes it out as if it's all down to the individual, as if there's not so many different factors that kind of influence your goals and influence if you're able to get there or not. For example, she talked about poverty and then, as I said, went on to defend, which she stated. But if you're growing up without that income or struggling in a struggling household, there are many different things than someone that would be brought up without that privilege.
Yeah, there's going to be loads of setbacks that you might face and all. Especially with someone with poverty, it might take them even longer to get to where they're at.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it comes down to so many different things. So poverty, for instance, it could be that you're in education, and while you're in education, you have to also work.
Yeah.
Or because it's expensive to live in city, you may be living in a smaller village outside of the city or far away from where your school is, which increases the travel time to school, which cuts down the amount of time you can revise or do homework. Or if you are working, again, that's cutting down so many hours, it's cutting down sleep. And if you're working a lot and doing all that sort of thing, or if you're in impoverished households, you may not be getting access to as healthy food, which means healthcare. You're having health issues, which means more time, or... there are a ton of different, statistics about this. These aren't things that we're coming up with. These are just straight up facts. We can totally link some, information things in the descriptions and stuff if that's needed. Yeah, I figured as well, with 24 hours in a day, put it this way, if you're a single mum, right, and you're upper class, if you have your own business or whatever, you can hire a nanny, you can get someone to look after your kids. If you're if you're rich or whatever, if you have a lot of income that you can just throw away basically, you can afford a nutritionist, you can afford going to the gym, you can afford people to do things for you. There's people who work for the NHS in COVID lockdown and stuff. I remember reading about a woman who, and it's not just one, this is one example, but there are many like it. She was working for the NHS, she was also doing another job, she was a single mum, and she had to rely on the food bank. So there's all these things going on, so many different factors. Yeah. How can you say that it's just as easy? And she stated that it was because she works hard and she's willing to do whatever, that's why she's got where she has, and no.
Except it's not,
It's so insulting to many people. Obviously, there are many other privileges. It's not just rich privilege. There's also male privilege, cis privilege, straight privilege, and obviously white privilege. We're two white passing girls, so it's not really our place to talk about this so much. But it is definitely something that needs to be mentioned. Yeah, so...
So, what kind of, privileges do you think you would, have yourself?
So, I grew up in poverty. I ended up being in foster care. For me in particular, I think exam results aren't everything. But when I was going to school, I had to travel a long time. My bus was an hour, and then I'd have to walk home after the bus. and I went to like a really good school. My school was like really, really good. But I got in because statistics, they take a certain amount of people that are in care. They take a certain amount of people who have. If you have a sibling that goes there, you're more likely to be enrolled in the same school. So I still managed to get in, which was really lucky for me because, as I said, it was a really good school. But yeah, for me, when I was in care and I was studying for my exams, I used to get told off for revising because my room wasn't tidy, but I'd have my textbooks and stuff all lined up on the floor in order of exams.
Wow.
My friends, I remember, if they were struggling with something, I remember my friends, especially for like maths. I can't name names and I don't want to be too specific, but I had a friend and her dad was like a professor of physics and her family was very mathematically orientated as well. So when we were both studying maths for A level, this is not just school, but for A levels, her parents would download past exam papers or she would go to them about questions. For me, I didn't have that support. I never got asked how my exams were going at home. Revising, again, I had like an hour on the bus, but you can't revise so much on the bus.
No.
Luckily, my friend went through. I remember we sat in the cafe and she like went through it with me. Or when I did sociology as well, my friend who was also studying really, really helped me get through that, and I ended up doing well in sociology. But that was because of my friend. It wasn't anything other than that. White privilege, definitely. Although my mum was an immigrant, that's my birth mum. I didn't grow up with her. I still like faced some kind of bullying and stuff because I'm not like fully white, if that even exists. Like I'm not, but I was born and raised in England. English is my first language, so that means that in class I could understand everything. I didn't need an interpreter. I wasn't held back in that regard. Yeah, cis privilege, obviously, as well. But I think people also forget like mental health in general. So obviously, when you talk about cis privilege, members of the trans community obviously they're struggling with body dysmorphia and stuff. So they have a lot more going on, and it might not be safe for them at home or in school or whatever. For me personally, it was a similar situation. I'm not saying that it was the same, because again, I have like cis privilege, but I had the same kind of. It wasn't safe at home. It wasn't exactly safe at school. I enjoyed school because it was an escape from home, but it still wasn't like a good time for me. I really hope that what I'm saying makes sense and it isn't like stepping on anyone else's toes. Yeah, so that's kind of what I dealt with, and I had so much more going on than. Basically, I think it's hard to focus on education when you're trying to keep yourself alive and trying to keep yourself going through those things. I ended up dropping out of university because of the same thing. It was the first time in my life that I had to focus on me, and I couldn't cope with that. So, yeah. Sorry for that big rant there, but what about you?
Wow, how do I even compete with that?
Oh no, it's not. I think the important thing is it's not. Another thing that people say is, oh well, other people have it so much worse. And yes, it is important to realise that we have privileges. But that's like saying you can't be happy because other people have it better. Don't gaslight yourself and saying that your feelings or your experiences aren't genuine or aren't enough, because at the end of the day you struggled with it. It's a problem. So just thought I'd throw that in there.
Well, I struggled off my life where I was in care, so I know what it's like as a self, but I got adopted.
Yeah.
But obviously same as you've got the white privileges that I won't isn't necessarily face things that other races would face.
Yeah.
So, but
I'll point out, talking about white privilege, I was in care with someone, and I won't mention names again, and she was born in America, her parents were Nigerian, but she lived with me. I say lived with me because I was in that household before she was, so it's not like we lived together, but that's the way it works in my brain. Her and her little brother, and I absolutely adore these people. I felt like they were my siblings. But she would talk to me about her experiences, as a black woman in England, and I remember her coming out with something. She got called a racial slur when she was like really young.
Oh.
And when she was really young, she said, "No, that's not the correct racial slur. This is the correct racial slur." And said the hard N-word. And I was thinking, like, oh my god, you're that young at the time, and you even then are aware that people have these like preconceptions about you, or it impacts everything. You could go to a job interview and automatically be judged for what you look like.
Yeah.
And it's another thing, like, especially in America, you know, when black girls have their natural hair curls and they're told that, like, oh, it's unprofessional, you should have your hair braided or whatever when you come to school, and kids have been sent out of class for their natural hair.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, so just mention that for a second. But yeah, moving on from privilege, what do you think about, well, I guess privilege is all a massive part of it, but what about goals? And what do you think is like important in regards to yourself with goals, and not just yourself, but like other people individually instead of?
Yeah, I suppose it's just important to remember, like, just to focus on yourself and not just comparing yourself to others. Just like because someone is further ahead with whatever their goals they want to do doesn't mean you need to think, oh, like I wish like I could have done that, or if I was doing this. Just focus on what's important to yourself.
Yeah.
Because everyone's got their own struggles and everyone's going through stuff that maybe other people don't know. So it's just important just to remember, just do what you best for you, really.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I think as well it's important to realise that people have different goals. A lot of people think, oh, education is so important and university is so important, and people lay this on thick, especially some of the influences in my life have told me that education is the only important thing, because if you get well educated, you can get this specific career and earn lots of money. For me, I want enough money to like get by. I don't want to struggle.
Yeah.
But that's not the end goal for me. I think there are so many more important things in my life than that. So some people are motivated by money, some people are motivated by like the job that I work. I do it because I enjoy helping people, and it gives me that satisfaction of knowing that I'm trying to do good. You know, we work for a mental health charity, Let's Connect, and it's so good for me, even though I'm not like speaking with people in crisis, like specifically, like I'm not their counsellor. I still get people in crisis on the phone or whatever, or coming to the reception. But the difference of someone being in distress and then calming them down, helping them, pointing them in the right direction, guiding them, or we've got people attending our groups. The difference in like anxiety levels or depression levels when they first start, and then just seeing the difference it makes, it's, you know, that to me is way more important than anything else. But yeah, and it's hard as well to focus on things like education or work or other things when you're struggling as well. So like, if you're going to work and you're doing like 40 hours a week every week and you're not taking a break and you're mentally like drained and stuff, it's so important to take that time back and go, yes, I'm saving up for this, or yes, I want to work because I need to have like good work ethics, for example. It's so important to take that time for yourself and recognize I'm not going to be the best if that's what you're motivated by. I'm not going to be the best worker if I'm mentally not doing well. You need to take time, recuperate, and then maybe go back into it or whatever.
Like I remember seeing like it's a video. I'm not sure who the woman is, but I remember I think she was on like some kind of talk show, and I remember she's like, if you don't make it in your 20s, try your 30s. If you don't make it in your 30s, try your 40s, and so on. So it's kind of like there's no rush.
Yeah.
Exactly. You know.
I think you've got some examples as well, haven't you?
Yeah.
Of celebrities, for example. So not everyone wants to be famous, not everyone wants to be a celebrity, but we figured some well-known names would be a good way of showcasing that you don't have to do everything when you're young. You hear a lot all the time, oh, this is the world's youngest person that's gone to space, or this is the world's youngest this, that, and the other. And you're already past that age and you're freaking out thinking, oh my god, I'm old, I'm never going to get there.
No.
Here are some examples of people that, you know, did do things that are well recognised.
So there's Colin Sanders, who's creator of KFC, like pretty big brand you'd say. So, starting at age 5, his father died. 16, he quit school, and then by age 17, he already lost four jobs. 18, got married, joined the army, and then washed out there. And then age 20, his wife left him and took their baby. And by age 65, he retired, and he felt like a failure and decided to commit suicide. Like, that's, well,
65 was that? When he felt like
65.
that, yeah.
65. So, he hadn't a really good start to life, really. All those different problems and just, but, you know, like many people would be like, well, that's it, really, you know, he's had all that trouble and everything, and then that's the end, really. But when he was sat writing his will, he decided he'll write what he wrote what he would have accomplished with his life and thought about what good he is, and that's cooking. So he borrowed $87, fried up some chicken using his recipe, went door to door to sell. By age 88, he was a billionaire.
It's just wild to think that someone at 65 is literally writing their will because they don't want to continue anymore and they've given it up. And still, that glimmer of hope was enough for him by 88 to do that.
Like, you think 65, he might have, like, not that. Well, more for average is about 70, 80. You'd think about people like that's about, you know, but 65, you wouldn't be thinking, oh, I'm going to start up a business or I'm going to, like, that's going to be it. But this guy, he's had a tough life and he's just decided, right, what am I good at?
Yeah.
What am I going to put out there? And idiot, billionaire.
We're not in any ways endorsing KFC or saying that Colonel Sanders or Colonel, whatever, however you pronounce it, is a good person. But this is a good example of someone that was struggling and then turned their life around.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say
Like,
on that
I
subject.
wouldn't say, like, oh, if you have a hard life, you'll end up billionaire or anything like that. It's more like the moral of the story is, like, regardless of, like, going through all these struggles and even debating suicide, there's always, like, a light at the end of the tunnel kind of thing. You know, doesn't have to be the end just because there's so many, like, setbacks or so many things. It's just thinking that there's not much left.
The lovely thing about that story is the fact that he was writing his will and then he wrote a thing, or he thought about what he was actually good at and what he did want to do, what kind of he would have liked to have done, and then he did it. I think that's really important. So it's like, even those dark times, he was thinking, look, what is it that gets me excited? What is it that, you know, and it's hard. But yeah. Have you got any other examples?
Well, there's J.K. Rowling, who was a single mother, like, was a struggle itself, and without a job, she didn't have much money and was living on welfare.
Mm-hmm.
And all of these struggles must have overwhelmed her and led her to depression. And she, like, was trying to publish Harry Potter series, but she faced a lot of rejection when she was, like, sending out her first Harry Potter book in 1995. But then Bloomberg took a chance on her and published Harry Potter under the pen name of J.K. Rowling, attempt to hide her gender so the boys would read the book.
Mm.
And then she says here, rock bottom became the solid foundation on which she rebuilt her life. So she had a difficult time being single mother, being on welfare and depression yet, and even the rejection from publishers.
Yeah.
But that didn't let her stop, like, she kept trying.
I think that's the difficult thing as well. She, again, we're not endorsing any of the people that we talk about. J.K. Rowling has said some very problematic things.
Yeah.
This is just an example of what she has done, and what she accomplished despite those certain setbacks that she had. Again, we're not endorsing her or agreeing with anything that she said.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's hard when you get rejected so many times. The fact that she kept going is really good. It's like, so my favourite author is Stephen King. I remember reading that he was writing Carrie, and he wrote it and he was writing the first bit and he was like, oh, this is trash. And he literally scrumpled it up, put it in the paper. And his wife, Tabitha, picked it up out of the bin, unscrumpled it, read it, and was like, no, you should keep going with this. And Stephen King, he's known for like so many different books and so many different translations of those books. And then films, of course. Like, there's so many different things that are King related. And people like me would never have known about him. He started writing when he was really young and ended up teaching. I think it was English he was teaching, like writing. Yeah, and the fact that someone as well known as him scrumpled up his work, I can't emphasize enough that it's like, it's the fact that no matter where you're at in life or how accomplished you are, you can still doubt yourself.
Yeah.
And still, and yeah. I think I've swayed a little bit off the topic there. You were talking about accomplishing things later in life or despite the struggles, and then I just started ranting about Stephen King, as I always do. Yeah, it is important. And I think you said about comparing yourself earlier as well.
Yeah.
Like, yes, these people have had these struggles, and that's not to say that everyone that has these struggles can, throw out a billion books or start their own business.
Yeah.
But it shows that even when you're struggling with those things, there are options.
Yeah.
And as well, I think the smallest things can make a huge difference. I talk about myself a lot in these podcasts, but I think it's easy enough to relate to. But when I was struggling mentally, all the time, when I was like unemployed and stuff, and I was struggling and I didn't leave the house and things, the goal for me was literally just start taking care of myself and find some work so I have my own autonomy. Get my own income so I can be more free with my time and enjoy myself and, look after myself. And I think that my goal then would have been quite different than other people my age. People that I used to go to school with and things, they were all in university, and I was struggling with, can I get out of bed?
Yeah.
Can I leave the house today? So I think it's very important again to like not compare yourself to what other people are, because as I mentioned earlier, like I had a different start in life than some of the people that I went to school with, and not saying that they didn't struggle. Obviously, the whole point of life or the whole just existence is, okay, here's the thing. Okay, there's a struggle, now overcome it. That's literally what life is. So not kind of discounting what they're saying. I can't think of the word. I'm not disregarding. There we go. I'm not disregarding other people's struggles. I'm just saying that my struggles at that moment were a lot.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I think it's important as well to talk about not only things that kind of set us back or goals in general. It's more, I wanted to mention kind of the CV of failures, if you've heard of that.
Yeah.
So it's important to recognise that even if people are doing well in life, there are so many things that they have struggled with and failed at. So the whole J.K. Rowling thing, yes, the whole Harry Potter thing happened, but the amount of times she was rejected,
Yeah.
I think it's important to recognise that it may look easy if you don't know the full story, or not saying that about like everyone, because some people again do have it easier than others. But it's more, yeah, it's about perseverance really. I think there are things that if you try so hard and it's not going, that maybe you should try a different path.
Yeah.
But if you're so passionate about it,
Just
passionate
go
about
for
something, yeah. And it's important as well to make, when you are setting goals for yourself, to make those goals like smart.
What does smart mean?
Well,
So specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely.
can you give me like an example of a goal that you've had in your life, or something that, or maybe like a goal you have now, or something?
Well, I
that
suppose
like,
completing my degree was definitely like a goal that I wanted to do. Like I wanted to get the 2-1 in my degree, and even though I had many struggles, I even ended up in hospital at one stage, and even I had like my lecturers, because I had to get an extension, who doubted that I said I wanted to get it done for whatever date. They doubted that I'd be able to do it, and well, I proved them wrong and I was able to do it.
good.
So that was like a big goal, and it felt really good just being able just to make that goal.
Yeah.
You know, but like, is there any goals you have? That you've, maybe a goal that you achieved?
I guess the whole trying to find work thing. I think a lot held me back mentally. Like I know I'm capable. I enjoy working. It's more at that time when I was unemployed and trying to start when you've had like a certain amount of time when you've dropped out of university and then had a certain amount of time unemployed.
Mm-hmm.
It's finding people that would give you a chance at work.
Yeah.
So I ended up I got an interview, I got told I had the job, and then they didn't tell me like when I start. So I like emailed them. I was like, so when do I start? And then I got blanked. I was like, okay, never mind. So I applied elsewhere. I could throw shade and name which company that is, but I won't. um, yeah, so I applied elsewhere, and I ended up working just during the summer. And it was like a I can't think of the word without naming like the company. It was like a fun fair type thing.
Okay.
So I was like setting up stalls and then like showing people how the games work, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But the issue with that one was it was like a long travel between where I was living and getting there, and then the money I was working because it was cash in hand and probably below what I was supposed to be getting paid. I say probably, but it was definitely. I was spending a lot of money on train fare. But now that I had that experience, I applied elsewhere. I ended up working there for no, I was a Christmas temp, and then when that was ending, I got told about another job. So my contract ended the 31st of December, and within January, I'd had an interview and got the job and started in a new place. And then I was there for over a year. Even when I moved, I got a transfer. And then I started working here, and my contract was supposed to be like a 6 month Kickstarter contract.
Yeah.
Because I really enjoy it and because I work hard and they recognise that, I was kept on. Um, so that goal for me, my initial goal was, okay, find work. That was like my underlying goal.
Find work. Yeah.
But if you break that down, which is what you should do with goals, you shouldn't just immediately, okay, unemployed, okay, find work. It's more build up to that.
Yeah.
It's okay, so what do I need to do? I need to find and write. So find my old CV, write it, renew it, research how to do that. I guess volunteering as well. I know other people that I've encouraged to volunteer when they've been unemployed, just so they get some experience and something to fill their time. So build up to it, and then it wasn't immediately working full time. It was okay. I'll work weekends or during the week during the summer holidays, and then yeah, it wasn't like it was long hours because it was on your feet all day, and it was early in the morning to like later on in the evening. But yeah, building up to that sort of thing, and then yeah.
Just little small goals get to the big end goal.
Yeah.
I think that's really good. Just because maybe people just think, oh, it's easy. Just here's a goal, and I'll just go for it. But it's very important just to like set those little tiny goals, and then you'll get to the end result you want it to be.
I think as well during lockdown, I was still working because I worked in retail when first lockdown hit and everything. But there wasn't much that you could do. Everything was closed. I'm sure you and everyone else remembers that. Yeah, there was not much you could do. So I was like, okay, what am I gonna do to fill my time? I started working on like being healthier, but also like later on during like the whole COVID thing, it's still going on obviously. But I decided to learn Dutch.
Oh.
So my partner's Dutch, lives in the Netherlands, and I thought my partner's Dutch. He speaks like fluent English, but I wanted to learn Dutch so I can communicate better, and it's something to do, you know. So I didn't immediately turn around and go, oh, by this time next year, I'm going to be fluent. It wasn't. It was literally just I'm going to download Duolingo and memorize and that sort of, the language learning apps.
Yeah.
And then I'll start learning. So I've been learning for like well over a year now. I'm still not fluent, obviously. I think it's hard as well when you can't visit that country so often because of lockdown again, like travel rules. If I immerse myself, like I've been watching YouTube videos in Dutch or TV shows or whatever, and again, still keeping up with my Duolingo and stuff. And I have some textbooks. I bought myself a textbook. that has like grammar, and his mum actually bought me a book, and it's How to Learn Dutch in 3 months. But it's like, again, I didn't just start off and go, oh, I'm going to be fluent by the time next year. It was, okay, I'm going to learn some key phrases. I want to be able to ask for a cup of tea if I'm at a coffee shop. I want to, I want to go shopping and ask for sliced bread, like at the bakery counter,
Kind of like baby steps, really.
Exactly. So it's just those little things. And it's like, if you take brushing your teeth, for example, if you brush your teeth for 1 hour or whatever, you're like, for 1 hour and then 1 day every month, like if it's just 1 day every month but for an hour, you're not going to have good dental hygiene.
No.
But if you do it 2 minutes twice a day, then your hygiene will be better. So it's like, I'm not throwing myself into, I'm not doing 1 hour a week, like 1 hour for 1 day a week, I'm not doing like, on Mondays is Dutch day, it's more, I'm doing a little bit every day, keeping on my daily streak. And I find that when I'm going back, because what happens is you do the whole thing, you do like 5 levels, and then you can legendary it. But then if you've not done it in a while, if you don't legendary, it cracks. So you basically, it's, oh, you haven't done this in a while, refresh this. So you're learning all these new things, and then you go back and refresh the ones that you've already learned. And you'll be surprised how much you know by then, or like you'll get thrown into a new topic, and there'll be new vocabulary, but because of the rest of the sentence and the words you already know, it's easy to infer what it means. So I think realizing the changes and the things you have built up, and realizing the difference between now and then makes a huge difference. Because it's easy to say, oh, well, I'm not fluent yet, I'm not doing enough. But then when you look back, actually, when I started, I had no idea. I didn't know this much at all. So I think you should recognise when you are doing well. And yeah. Again, a big rant. Sorry. So do you want to talk a bit more about social media? You mentioned comparing yourself to others in social media.
Yeah. I suppose, with social media, obviously, there's going to be people out there that are putting stuff on social media which doesn't actually reflect them. A lot of people put on social media their best bits, like the good times, just things where they're proud of, maybe necessarily. But it's not necessarily, you're not seeing their whole life. You know, we can just put on social media what we want people to see, but not, and I think, especially, Instagram and stuff, you would see a lot of, photos of people, and you get people, even me myself, sorry, I can't speak here, myself, and even maybe yourself, maybe looks at people like, oh, I wish I looked like that, or I wish I had, but with social media, that's, not everyone's different, and we shouldn't really necessarily compare ourselves to others, because everyone comes from different backgrounds, and everyone's,
You're right, no, you're fine. I think as well, you mentioned Instagram in particular. On my Instagram, so I don't post often, and it's mainly people that I know or used to know on there. Like, I don't, I'm not like some influencer or whatever. I've not got many followers, but even now I still post. Like, I'm very particular about what I post and the words I choose. So I've got a lot of posts about places I've been, but it's more so I can look back and remember those things. But then I have posted pictures of myself, and then tried to be honest about the way I have, not necessarily my mental health, but I've more skated over those things, or I've talked about or tried to be real, because I understand that on Instagram especially, you'll see, so I've been getting into yoga. If you follow a lot of yoga accounts, there's one in particular that I like, and it's like, oh, here's a beginner thing. Here's a difficult pose, but here's the beginning steps and how to do this. So that was really helpful, or seeing the progress that they've made. But then you get other ones who do certain things. It's like, oh, this is easy, this is where you should look. And then it's like, oh, how skinny they are, or what food they're eating. And it's like, a lot of it is a front. They don't talk about their struggles, because it is an influencer profile. It's trying to influence people to get into that lifestyle and make it out to seem such a good thing. And it can be, but it's I think it's important to try and be real on those platforms, and I think it's Body Positive Panda or something. I can't remember. But she is fantastic. She's talked about her struggles and her body issues and kept like a positive face on while showing people that it's okay to be different. And I say she's put a brave face on or whatever, but she's also shown raw emotion and she's shown her crying and things like online and said, look, like I still struggle, even though my page on here is so positive and it's so whatever. It's important to recognise that like we all have emotion, that we all struggle. Yeah. And another thing, when you post on Instagram, you're carefully selecting what you're putting up. Like some people will take like a billion photos and then choose one, or they'll only show a certain me personally, I upload when I go away, as I've said, like if I go on trips or if I take like a nice walk and I see like a pretty thing. I'm not gonna take a picture of my bedroom when I've not left the house, or like I'm not gonna take a picture of my desk at work every day and put that up every day. Oh, he's like a daily check-in, whatever. First of all, those things aren't interesting to me to post online. Like, if I saw someone else posting that every day, I'd be like, okay, that's boring. So people post things that they think are interesting, things that people are going to care about or that they want to look back on themselves. So yeah, I think it's important, as you said, to
like I remember, I think we watched it together, like social, like it was a video about social media where like people like post things like, and there was one like a guy saying about like he put a helmet on him and just like did like 10 miles or whatever, and then he like put the phone away and then just put the helmet off and went back in the house. Or there was a guy with like a green juice.
and he tried it and then binned it.
Yeah, pretty much. Or there was I think there was like a friends like having a meal out or something. All of them were on their phones, and then they got the waiter to take a photo and all like. And I think the caption was something about spending time together and all.
Yeah.
And I think like it's really good. It's nice to see how, you know, the reality, like not everything is what you see in reality. Because some people just like it's more about the likes and more about getting loads of people's attention rather than, well, actually, you know, it's not quite how it is actually in real life.
Yeah. I think it's important to recognise that.
Like I think we would, like a lot of people like would be so indulged in all these things on social media and wish they could be like this person or this other person, but don't actually realise that, you know, you don't know what's happening behind closed doors as such.
And as well, I think people, again, as we've talked about goals and stuff, people focus on different things. So if someone's posting every day about their fitness, for example, or about their skincare routine or about their makeup, this is something that they feel reflects positively on them, and it's something that may make them feel good. But they're not posting on the things that don't make them feel good also. So it's like, oh yes, wish I could do my eyeliner like that. I'm terrible at doing my eyeliner. I wish I could do my eyeliner like that. But also, there'll be other things that I can do that are individual to me, that not everyone else can do. You know, obviously, like there's always going to be someone better than you. There's always going to be someone worse. You know, whatever. But what I'm trying to say is that even if you're comparing yourselves to other people, everyone compares themselves to others. So that person that you're saying, oh, I wish I could do that, they're thinking, oh, well, I wish I could do that.
Exactly.
You know, it's a massive cycle. And I think as well, when it comes to hobbies and stuff, there's like a song on TikTok or whatever, and it's like, it's like a caption or whatever, and it says something like, let's recognize the fact that we don't have to be good at something that we enjoy, like our hobbies. We don't have to be good at it to enjoy it and to do it. And people have like put compilations of themselves like roller skating or whatever, and just enjoying themselves. That's another thing. If you enjoy it, and if it's something that you know you want to do, then why not?
Yeah, go for it.
So, and again, we build up. It's little by little. Yeah, I think next time we wanted to talk about motivation. So we've talked a little bit about goals and comparisons to others. I think it's important. We've even mentioned this on a previous podcast. I believe it was Josh that mentioned we should do one on motivation. So we will. We will. That'll be next time. Yeah, it's important to talk about how to motivate yourself to meet those goals or to even set goals.
I think that is really important because I suppose without the motivation, you're not going to necessarily achieve what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So,
or even to have anything that you do want to do. I find that incredibly difficult myself. But yeah, I think that's everything. Again, if you have any questions, queries, or concerns, I'll drop the email and contact number and whatever. All our socials will link. Yeah. So thank you. And thank you. Bye.
Bye.
We tried.